Hello, this is Christian here. In this video, we'll be creating compound conditional structures in PHP. In this video, we're going to revisit the logical AND and logical OR operators, which you have already learned. We are going to learn to combine two or more if statements into a single compound conditional structure. It's very common in these examples. The conditionals are always evaluated from left to right, so this is something that you also ought to know, and this is not only true for PHP, in almost like in every language. So when you create compound conditionals in a switch statement, it's very different. So I'm going to show you how to do that in an example. Compound conditions are usually very easy to learn, but they are very hard to master, and it takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of thinking to make them work. So practice a lot. So let's take a look at the if statements with a compound conditional structure using the logical AND. So here in the example, you have the one I highlighted in yellow. Those are the conditions. So we have two if statements in here. It's a nested if statements, right? So the first one is checking for a number if it's a greater or equal to 0. If it is, then inside the if block, we're going to check again the number to see if it's an even number, right? It's divisible by 2. If it's so, then we echo the statement number is greater than 0 and even. Otherwise, it's greater than 0, but it's odd. If it's not, greater or equal to 0, then we echo the statement it's an invalid number. Okay, so in other words, negative numbers are not allowed. Okay, so if you were to rewrite that using the logical AND, you will combine those two conditions into a single compound condition like you see here. And you would join those two conditions using the ampersand, the double pair of the ampersands. This is the logical AND. So that means both of those must be true in order for the statement echo number is greater than or equal to 0 and even. If that is not true, then we jump to the second else if, well actually the first else if, and we check if the number is less than 0. Again, that's like a negative number. Then we echo invalid number. Otherwise, it must be greater than 0 and it must be odd. Okay, so you notice how I restructure this is a little bit different in the order compared to the one on the left. And you can put that middle condition saying if number is less than greater or equal to 0 and number is not is not divisible by 2, then you say number is greater than 0 and odd. But it just makes the code look shorter if you do it this way, because you're going to get the same result. Okay, so the next one here is the same thing using the logical OR. So here again is another one. It's much harder to write logical OR using these if statements actually. As you can see, a little bit different. So I'm checking if number is greater than or equal to 0. If that's the case, then I'm going to say number is equal to 0 or even. Okay, I can't say and here because it's or one or the other. If that's not the case, let's just say if number is negative number, then it jumps to the second part, which is the else if. Then we check for number if it's divisible by 2. If it's so, then we'll still have the same echo statement, right? Number is greater than 0 and it's even. If none of the above are true, then it must be an invalid number. Okay, so that means it's negative and it's not divisible by 2. Okay, so that's the OR if statements. Then to use the compound conditionals in logical OR, it's much simpler. So you just put the pair of pipes there, pipe symbols, between the two conditions, and you're done. Okay, so it's much simpler to write it that way than the one on the left. Now the switch statements can also be used to create compound conditionals using the logical AND. So for example, here you see that if the number is, the first case, if it's larger than or equal to 0, if that's true, then you form a second nested switch statement inside that case block. And you check the number again and to see if the number is divisible by 2. If it's so, then we found the answer. The number must be greater than 0, equal to 0, and even. Otherwise, it's not divisible by 2, so therefore it must be an odd number. Okay, and then we go back out to the outer case, and the default will be just invalid number. It must be a number less than 0, which is a negative number. Okay, we translate that to a compound conditional structure here using logical and. Looks very similar to the if statements before. So your code is much shorter actually. You have less cases to solve. But so this is another way to do that. Okay, so you combine those two conditions together, and you prepend or actually join those using the logical AND operator. So the next is the logical OR. This is something like this, and it looks very similar to, again, the if block. You just use the pipe symbol to join the two there. If that's the case, if it's either a greater or equal to 0, or if it's divisible by 2, then you get that statement greater than 0 or even. Otherwise, it must be an invalid number. Okay, that's one way to write it. Another way is to use something like this. So you have each case statements on its own. So we test for the first case. If it's greater or equal to 0, and then the colon, again, you look at the right side of that first line, the colon is nothing there. It's empty. So I remember, if you remember from the previous videos, one of the videos before, I mentioned that if you don't put a break statement there, it's going to automatically jump to the next case and run that statement. So in this case, if you have a number greater than 0, it's going to go right into the second case and echo the statement number is greater than or equal to 0 or even and break. Or if the number is it doesn't match the first case, so like a -2, for example. So -2 would not pass the first case, but it will match the second case because it's divisible by 2. So therefore, you're going to get the same result. Okay, so the only time you get the echo invalid number is if it's a negative odd number. Okay, so in this example, I did not show the odd statements as we did in the previous one, but I just want to show you the different ways how you can structure this together using the compound condition, using the logical or in the other case, you would use those cases without the break statement. All right, so let's go into the code editor and do a few examples of these. Okay, so here in the IDE, I'm going to create another file here. And I think, instead of just doing some examples, I'm going to do an example that will be related to the assignment. So I'm going to create a file here. I'm going to call this the Lotto. And we're going to write a simple Lotto program. And the idea of this Lotto program is, let's just say that, again, put a Lotto program. Okay, let's just say that I'm going to say let the user, so I'll put a description here. So we can say let user guess 3 numbers. Okay, and each number between 0 and 9. And we allow duplicates. So we say duplicates allowed. Okay, so you can pick like 000, 111, or 112, things like that. Okay, so that is one of the condition. And then we're going to generate a random number, a single random number between 0 and 9 as well. This is the one that is picked by the machine. And then we're going to display the prizes based on the following conditions. Okay, so let's just say that if you match a 0, so 0 match will result in a prize of $0. Okay, so 1 match would result in $10, 2 matches and $100, and 3 matches. If you match all 3 numbers, then you get $1,000. Okay, so that is the condition. Those are the conditions to get the prizes. All right, so then how do we do that? Okay, so now I'm going to do something a little bit similar to the assignment. So let me go and create a HTML file. I'm just going to get the template here first. I'm going to grab the title here, would be just Conditional. Okay, and then in the body I'll put the H1, just say Lotto game. Okay, so right in here I'll put my form. So your form will be like, so action will be going to itself. I'm going to go to Lotto PHP. I'll call itself. And the method we're just going to call it, I guess get is fine. Post get, doesn't matter which one you use it. So inside the form, we're going to have another statement saying like pick 3 numbers. Okay, 3 numbers. And then we have the input here. So input will be type. I'm going to force it to be number type. So you cannot select other numbers, other stuff other than number. So we can put an ID if you want. I'm going to ignore ID here, unless you want to use JavaScript or CSS and things like that. I'm going to ignore those. But the name is important. The name will be like the guess 1. This is the first number, and then I'm going to do a Control D in this line 2 times to get the 2 other guess numbers. So get those 3 numbers, and then finally here the input will be the type we submit, and we're just going to say name is submit, and value will be same. You just leave it default, it's fine. Okay, so that's our very simple form. I think let's see what it looks like in the browser. So if that's good enough, then we can just go with that. Okay, so here's our little form here. It's kind of wide, but that's okay. So I'm gonna pick the 1. If you can see, if you try to type ABC, it won't let me do it, right? So you can get 1, 2, and 3. I did not put the limit. You can put the range number if you want from 0 to 9, but we'll ignore that for now. And if I click submit, it's gonna load the Lotto HTML, which is, you can see here, it's empty. Okay, so now I'm going to do something here, and as you do these exercises, again, I encourage you to break your files into separate files, headers and footers and things like that. Okay, so I'm going to go and create here, for example, the header file. I create another one here for the footer. All right, and then, you know, right in here on the top of this file, like right here, you can put include the header, goes here, and then somewhere down here you have the include footer. So put footer here. Okay, so that's your header and footer, and so that means in between is the actual form. So like here, this is the, I will use this as the, all this as the header. Copy all that, put in a header file, save that. You can close that now, and then I will copy the footer, which I don't have here. You could put in a footer tag if you want, like that, and then copy. Something like that as a footer, and including the end of the HTML as well. And copy that, put into the footer area. This is the footer. This is wrong. Sorry. All this should be in the footer here, like that. So save that in the footer, and then in the Lotto is where you put the include here. So here we'll have the include for the header, and then we'll do one more for the footer. Okay. So that is the structure, and then your form goes in between here. Okay, so in here then you can do another inclusion here. You can say include main content or something like that. Okay, so I'm just gonna put this right in there. This is the form. and we'll put it right inside here. But then you want to escape out of this PHP mode. So we go into PHP mode, out of the PHP mode into HTML, and then back into PHP mode down here. All right, this is what we want. Okay, so now this is the form. Then the result, where does the result go? Let's just say that we will display the result right in here. Okay, so that means like right in here, I will just put another include here. I'll copy this, put it here. Right below the result is going to be the include for, say, result. Okay, and then I'm going to create a file here called result. So let's create another one here, inc result. And this is where all my logic occurs. So I'm going to copy this information here and include it in the result so we can see the information in this file. We're going to process the data in this file. So I don't need this anymore. Now this is my program here. I have the header, the form, and then the result is going to show up here, and then the footer in the bottom, and it should look just like the other one. If I save this and run the program again, so here it is, looks just like the other one, right? Okay. So now if I click submit, it's going to submit to the same page. As you can see, it calls the same file. And then once we load that, we'll display the result down here. And as you can see, the footer is right here. So I know it's kind of too close to that part. But in the footer, you can do something like, you know, you can put a div here if you want. Or you can say, you can put a style CSS. I'll just put it here. Style, we'll put top, see position, I'll put relative here, and then top will be just say 50px. Let's see what it looks like. Back to the browser and refresh, and so give it that little space in between here. Okay, so that's all I'm doing. Okay, so that's good. So now when I process this form, I'm going to get the guess 1, guess 2, guess 3 in the results page. So the results page over here, we're going to get a variable to match our random variable number. So what does it mean? It means we need to declare a random number. So I'm going to go on here. This is the random number. Yeah, I'm just going to make it easy, simpler. Let's call it R. Okay, this is the R. And this is going to be obtained by the random function between 0 and 9. This is our lotto number generated by the program. And then we need to get those 3 numbers. So we call it G1. Watch this, guess 1 is going to be coming from the get function. And we'll call it guess 1. Right? And the form, it matches the form. So just copy this 2 times. So guess 2, guess 3, and then guess 2, guess 3. So those are our input numbers. And I'll just make some lines in them here. Okay, so we got those numbers, and we're going to match these numbers to the random number. Okay, so and then we'll generate some prizes. Now the prizes, those are fixed. So usually you can go up here and use the constants. So I'll use the define to define my constants. I have a match 0, match 1, match 2, and so on. So I can say match 0. If that is the case, then I'll get $0. Okay, so you can just do that a couple times. And then match 1, match 2, match 3. And then this is 10, 100, and then 1,000 here. So those are my numbers. Okay, so now is the fun part. This is where we're going to get the do the matching, do the compound conditions. So when I display the information, I'm going to get a prize based on the matching conditions up here. So I need to also set another variable here. I'll call it prize, and this will be set to 0 initially. And I might also want to display the number of matches to the user. So I can create another one here. I just call it matches. and we'll start from 0. It's like 0 matches, something like that. And every number I match, I will increase by 1. Okay. So usually the simpler method is to use the if statements. So we do that first, and we'll do that one the switch cases later on. So what do we do here? So you go through you can use pseudocode, you can use the flowchart, or sketch it out how you want to do it to solve this problem. So you're going to match this random number with the first guessed number. Okay, and if it matches the first number and the second number and the third, that means you match all three. So you match all three here, so you get the price. Right? If it matches the first and the second, or the first and the third, or the second and the third, then you match 2, right? If it matches only one of these, then you match 1. If it's none, then you match 0. So that is the logic. Okay, so these are like cases. So which is easier to solve? And that's entirely up to you. So this is just how you think, how you solve this, and you can solve this in many ways. Okay, so I'm going to do the first one. I'm going to match all three. Okay, so this case I'm going to say if the R1 is equal to guess 1, okay, and all must be matched, right? R1 is equal to guess 2, and R1 matches guess 3. It matches all three. If that's the case, then I match all three. So I'm going to do a matches equals 3, and then my price is going to be set to, I don't want to put 1,000 there, it's going to be set to match 3. That's the constant, and that's for that case. So I'll put a note here, match 3. And then what about the other case? If you match 1 and 2, or 1 and 3, or 2 and 3, right? So something like that, right? So this will be like the else if you can do R1 matches guess 1 and R1 matches guess 2. If that's one case, so I'm going to do this and do a multi-line. That's one case, and then I'm going to copy this, just put it down here 2 times. Okay, we'll clean this up. And then underneath the last one here, this is the end of the block. And then I'll just say this is the body of that. So it matches 1 and 1, 1 and 2, 1 and 1 and 3, and then matches 2, or matches 3 only. Okay, so if that's the case, then I have a matches equal to 2, and then my price is going to be set to match 2. Okay, so this one here, match 2. And then the third option is if matches any one of these. So this is the easier one, right? So say else if R1 equals guess 1, or R1 equals guess 2, or R1 equals guess 3. So if you match any one of these numbers, then we got a match 1. And then we're going to set the matches to equals 1, and then our price is going to be just $10, which is match 1. Okay, and if it doesn't match any of the above, then we go to the else part. That means we have matches 0. So I don't have to put matches in here because it's already defaulted to 0, and the price is already 0. So usually you can leave this out, or it's good to put that in here, like the price, because maybe, just maybe, that you might set a different value for match 0, because you can say, you know what, since you participated, you know, since you tried, we'll match you, we'll give you $1, right? So whatever this changes, this here will be affected down here. Okay, so I think that's the logic here. So as you can see, I'm using the logical and the logical or all together here at the same time. I'm using here both together, logical and logical or, to combine these three conditional clauses together. So let's see if this is the case. Okay, so down here then, once I get this done, these are all done. This is just for the calculation part, right? So when this result is calculated in here, I need to display the information as well. So that means right in here, I can go and say something like, okay, I'm going to escape out of the PHP mode. And now I just do HTML. So you can do something like H3, or maybe you can put like an HR here to put a line. And you can say result. And you can say here, a P here, put the what is it called, random number. Let's put a pound sign. Is the R1. Display that to the user and duplicate that again. This is your number, your numbers, and then we display the guess 1, okay, and then guess 2 and guess 3. Display those 3 numbers there, and then down here you could do something like, I'm going to copy this, put it down here, matches. And I'm going to put here the matches. And then finally, we'll put the prices down here. Your price. And we'll put $, and then this is the price. All right, so there we go. And we'll see if this is correct or not. And you can put this, you know, bold. You can put like maybe I don't know, H3, I guess, again. All right, so save this. And let's run the application and see what happens. So here you go. I'm going to refresh this first. Some errors in here are okay. I didn't put the $sign somewhere. I know that somewhere. I did not have. Yeah, it's not called R1, just R. You know what? Since I call R1, it's easier just call it R1 here. Okay, less to type. All right, save that and refresh it again. Okay, so you can see that random is 0 because I did not say that don't display this until I click the submit. As you can see, once we load this, you're going to get the random number every time, but I did not pick my numbers here. So we don't want that to show right away. Only shows this after you click the submit. So this part here should not be visible, right? So that means back in the code here, before we even do this, so like up here, we have to say something like if you can check for is set the get the submit. If that is set, then go ahead and process the whole thing here all the way to the end of this entire list. So we're going to go back to PHP mode and just close that part down here. Okay, so this whole piece is blocked inside the if here, if it's submit. Oops, submit here. This submit will come from this submit form here. Okay, when you click submit, this will pass to the get, and then you can get that from the get array here. So let's save this again and reload one more time. Okay, so okay, let's try one more time. Let's see, did I not type correctly? Looks correct to me. I'm just gonna run this again. Okay, so let's run new version. Okay, so we close it. It has to do with the caching issue, so let's close that one. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna pick numbers, so 1, 2, and 3. And as you can see, we match 1 because we matched a 3, right? So we get $10. And that is what we say about the conditions here. So we match 1, then we get $10. If I do it again, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I match none, so I get $0. Try one more time. 2, 2, 2, 3, 4. I match none. Let's put like 3, 3, and 3. I match 0. So 3, 3, 3 again. So match 0 again. So I'm going to cheat here a little bit, okay? So that's to make it work. I'm going to go in here and force these to be the correct number. So instead of random 0 to 9, I'm just going to put a really low number, 1, 0, and 1. Okay? So it's either one or the other, just to close the gap. Okay, so let's try it again. And here we go. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So I match 1. If I put 1, 1, 2, I should match 2. Okay, so $100. But 1, 1, 1, I might match 0 or 3. So match 0, 1, 1, 1, and I match 0 again. Wow, it's hard to get. So I match all 3. I got $1,000. All right, so this is using the if statements. Now, let's do something similar. This time I'm going to use the switch statement. So I'm going to turn these off from here to here. And we'll leave this as is. And I'm going to go up here, and then we're going to write the switch statement. So the switch statement will be a little bit different, but it's doable. Okay, so we want to switch the guess or the R number here, and compare this number against the 3 number of guess numbers. So then here you would say switch the R1. Okay, so we'll look at those 3 cases, right? If it matches the guess 1, if that's the case, then do something here. And you have the other case of guess 2. If it matches that, do that here. You have the third case. If it matches the guess 3, and then you do that here, and you have a default. When none matches, then we know that, the match is 0, and the price, we just set the price to match 0. Right, just like before. So that is the logic here. So now, when we match the first one, the same as before, we want to say if R1 matches the first one and matches the second and the third, right? So it matches the first one. So instead of doing this, instead of saying, I could just basically put this one here, right in here, right? That's fine, but again, it's not really how it's done. It's possible, but I want to show you a different way. So instead of doing that, say, okay, so when I match the first one, I'm going to switch again. Okay, so I'm going to switch again, the R1 again. This time, does it match the second number? So case guess 2. If it matches that, then you go to that part. Otherwise, what about, does it match number 3? So it doesn't match 3? Yes or no? If it's yes, then you go in there. Otherwise, this is the default. Therefore, it only matches the first number only. So therefore we have only match 1. So again, price will be just match 1. But then the counter is important. So the counter up here, we started from 0. So when you match one number, before you do the switch, I'm going to do something like this. I'm going to increment matches by 1. So you just put plus plus there. Okay, you increment it by 1. And then when you match the second number, here, if you match that, then you would do matches plus plus again. Or if you match the third one, still same thing, matches plus plus. We're not done there yet. So if it doesn't match any of those, then we don't need to increase it because it only match one number. So therefore, price is only match 1. So this is the inner case switch inside the first case. So we're not done here yet. So if it matches the second, the first, and the second, then we increase plus 1 here, plus 1 here, and then now we need to check if it matches the third as well. So another switch here. So again, one more time. This time though, we only check for 2. Does it match the third case or not? If it is, then we add 1 and then we get the price for that 3 cases. Otherwise, this is the default. Again, we match only 2 because here is 1 match here, 2 matches here, and then so on. So the first case, if it matches 3, then we increase the matches by 1, and then we're done here because the price is now equal to match 3, and then we break here. Okay, if it doesn't match the third case, then therefore it must mean only the first 2 are matched. So this is the default case. Oops. And we're just going to say price is equal to match 2. Only match 2, and the counter is incremented, only it stops here. Okay, so you match 1 and 2, and that's it. So that's for that case. Now, this case down here, when we match the first and the third, so you follow the same rule. If that's the case, we didn't match the second, so therefore we're done here. Basically, it's only match 2, and then we're just going to say the price is equal to match 2, and we're done. Break here. And if it doesn't match any of the 2 or 3, then therefore that means we only match the first number and then just 1 count, and then we get the price of match 1. Okay, so that is the case 1. What about the case 2? Oops, the case 2 here. What happened? Okay, the case 2, if I don't match, if the first guess didn't match, it must match the second. Okay, if it matches the second, then I need to increment my matches by 1, and I need to switch to see if it matches the third. Right, only 2 and 3 left. So this will be very similar to this case here. Okay, so you can say if it matches the third, then that means I matched only 2 because only 2 and 3. So I increase my matches, and then my match, my price, is equal to match 2 and break. Okay, if it doesn't match 3 either, then that means it only matches one number, which is 2. So therefore, this is a default. And we're just going to put price is equal to match 1. So we only match one number for case 3. Okay, and then if it doesn't match 1, if it didn't match 1, or it didn't match 2, and if it matches 3, then this is the only case. So we only increase matches by 1, and we can say price is match only 1, and then break. So there's only 1 matched. And then if it doesn't match 1, 2, or 3, then it must be the default, and therefore it must be match 0. Okay, so I think I did something wrong here. It has an error here somehow. Okay, so let's see where that error is. So let's go up here a little bit. I have, I'll make sure I didn't do anything in here. So the if here, that's fine. Switch this one here. The case 2, it starts from here, right? The switch here and here, so I need to put a default here. Break here. So break that, and then 2, break here, default here. Okay, so case 2, and then I have a switch here, and then I need to break that switch after this second case. Break there. And so let's see, the switch to guess here, match that, break, default. That's okay, so I don't need a break there, that's fine. And case guess 3, you match that, and so on, you break. Else default is price. Something's still not right here. Let's see what's going on. And this block here. Yeah, this is what happens when you missing one of those curlies. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere I didn't put it. Let's see here. The switch, yeah, this one here didn't have it. It's incorrect. I put that there, and it ends right here. Okay, and that is the first case, so I need to put a break after that as well. So you can see it gets really confusing. So that's when you put that like that as one, you close that as second case and third case. So make sure they're properly aligned and properly closed. Okay, so let's see if this works, and let's save that. And the logic down here will still be the same. We're using the same variable name, so that should be okay. Let's save this and I'll run this file again just to make sure that it works. Okay, I'm going to close the first one. So my number would still be 102. I'm going to go 3, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3. I match 0 because the random is only 1 or 0. Okay, so as you can see, it seems to be still working. 1, 2, 3, I might match 1. Okay, so I match 1 only. Okay, so I put 1, 1, 2, I might match 2. Okay, so I match 2. And for 1, 1, 1, I might match all 3 or none. So try again, 1, 1, 1, and it still doesn't match, and it still doesn't match. Wow. Okay, so okay, let's try 0. Great. So there it is, match all 3. So it does work. Okay, so that is how you can use the switch case and the if and else to solve this problem. So you can choose either way you want, whichever is easier. You can mix and match the two. You don't have to use all switch cases, of course. So however it works, which is easier for you, then use that method. And I hope this is helpful to solve your problems. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Thank you.